In this video, we're going to be looking at the most optimal diet possible that you can have for both a healthy body, healthy mind, and overall well-being. Now, to make a long story short, the best possible diet that you can have is an alkaline, whole food, plant-based diet. I'll explain. So on this diet, you'll have a strong, healthy, energetic body. On top of that, it is also good for your gut microbiome, and the gut microbiome directly affects your mood. So that means in addition to your physical health, it is also good for your mental health. One of the main reasons that this diet is healthy overall is because alkaline foods grow naturally without the need of man-made intervention. Anything that is natural and deemed edible is automatically healthy to your body. But apart from that, these foods also contain stored energy such as glucose and natural sugars, as well as vitamin D from the sun. Now, acidic foods, on the other hand, are the complete opposite of alkaline foods. These foods are geared mostly for commercial purposes, such as taste and convenience. Now, how unhealthy the acidic food is depends on what category it is in. So if we take a look at this table, we see that it has 5 categories of food. So we have the alkaline food, the healthy stuff, then the ultra-processed foods, then the lab-grown, man-made / man-altered food, the foods that grow underground, and then meat. So when we're looking at the processed foods specifically, these are basically your everyday store-bought edibles or snacks, whatever you want to call them, that have 50 different ingredients, most of which you can't spell, bagged chips or candy, stuff like that. Just everyday random food items or items that are past as snacks, cereal, even fast food can be in here depending on what it is. So as far as nutrition goes, processed foods do very little for the body nutritional wise, because not only are they geared for taste, but they're also geared for convenience. Convenience not only for the consumer, but for the companies that are selling these products. Because at the end of the day, they need volume and profit. So their interests are not necessarily going to be geared towards investing time and resources to the healthiest ingredients. Next, we have the lab-grown, man-made or man-altered food. So mostly produce falls into this category. These are foods that have undergone genetic modification throughout a period of time by humans seeking favorable qualities such as taste or convenience. So examples include Hass avocados, pineapples, soybeans, or even Cavendish bananas. All these foods do have natural counterparts, but they specifically have been selected for human preference. You're never going to find foods like this growing naturally without human intervention because they've been altered. The reason why this drops the nutritional value of the product is because nature naturally has defense mechanisms to protect the plant from unwanted pests, and that in turn keeps its nutritional value high. But those protections don't necessarily equate to taste or preference, which is why selective breeding happens in the first place. So when humans remove the traits that they find undesirable from the plant, they effectively sacrifice its nutritional value for taste and preference. Although this category is acidic, it is still healthier than the processed foods. The next category are foods that grow underground. Although these foods are natural, they are usually very dense and hard on the digestive system, which is why they need to be cooked. A rule of thumb is if you can safely eat it without cooking it, then it's most likely acidic. But all in all, foods that grow underground are healthier than man-altered foods. And last on the list, we have meat, which is pretty much just corpse, right? Because, if you think about it, it's just dead animal bodies, right? So, it's corpse. It's corpse. Now, the thing about meat is many people think that we need to consume meat to be healthy, but this isn't necessarily true. Now, the reason why many people think that we need meat to be healthy is because they think that it's a valid protein source and it has all the essential amino acids. But these amino acids are found in every food source, because what they fail to understand is that all those nutrients, such as the proteins and the essential amino acids found in the meat, those nutrients came from the plants that the animals ate. So the nutrients from the meat are secondary. There's obviously also the famous misconception that plant-based people in general are skinny and meat eaters or omnivores way more. So the whole thing is they basically think that weight equals health, but your weight depends on how many calories you consume in a given time period and not on what diet you're on. There's a wide variety of people who are on omnivore diets or carnivore diets and are still skinny, and people who are on plant-based diets and are bulk.
I was born and raised into a lacto-vegetarian family, so I've never eaten meat.
So this really isn't a smart way of thinking. Now, studies show that people who eat red meat are at higher risk of various diseases such as obesity, cancer, Alzheimer's. Basically, the list goes on, which is why the carnivore diet on its own does not work long term at all. So whereas plant-based diets work long term, I mean, you can go online right now and find countless amounts of stories of people who have easily gone decades without needing meat. But the information on the carnivore diet is very limited. This is also the reason why most carnivores need to supplement with fruit. But the majority of people who go on plant-based diets don't need to supplement with meat. This is clear proof that people do not need meat to be healthy. Meat is more of a preference. So long story short, you do not need meat to be healthy. You just need to eat enough of a good diet, which is an alkaline diet. Now, people think that the omnivore diet, or what they call a balanced diet, is the healthiest diet, and that looks correct on paper. But now, the reason people call this diet a balanced diet is because of the conjoining of meat with plants. So basically, the idea of what you're thinking is meat good, plants good, bring that together and it's healthy and it's balanced. But since we've already proven and established that you don't need meat in your diet to be healthy, that means the statement that an omnivore diet is a balanced diet does not make any sense anymore, and it's null and void. Because now saying that an omnivore diet is healthy because it's quote unquote balanced would be like having some non-edible plastic in your diet in the place of meat and then calling that diet healthy. Like, it doesn't make any sense anymore. So as mentioned earlier, a good diet is also good for your mental health. Now, mental, spiritual, it's the same thing. It's your internal health. A lot of people seem to have this preconceived notion that you can just eat anything and everything will be fine. They think it's all about getting in those calories and everything's good. And that actually sounds really sensible in theory. But the problem is that mindset would only work if we as human beings were only comprised of physical matter. But see, that's the problem. We aren't. We have a spiritual side. This is the part of us where joy and happiness reside. And you can't ignore this spiritual side, at least not forever. Because the more you do, the more your mental health suffers. The more you essentially make things worse for yourself. Because the more you keep your body in an acidic state by doing degenerative activities, the more inhospitable you make your body for this higher self where your happiness resides. So what you might be wondering next is, okay, how exactly do alkaline foods support my higher self and in turn improve my mental health? Now, it all starts with the brain, the mind. The mind is where the higher spirit self resides. So these foods are usually very high in glucose and natural sugars, which the brain needs as its fuel. On top of that, since alkaline foods do not have any ingredients that would be unnatural to the body, that means there's nothing in them that would clog your arteries or give you bad cholesterol, which means easy passage of blood and oxygen throughout the body and also towards the brain. So from a physical sense, more oxygen and sugar to the brain improves the brain's functioning capacity, which directly improves mood and decreases stress. And looking at it from a spiritual sense, in every esoteric, spiritual, or occult teaching, the brain is where the higher self resides because reality is experienced through the mind and not the body. So the better you take care of your mind, the better your reality will be. Because acidic foods would clog your arteries, they have trans fats, they have artificial ingredients, they are very dense, they don't assimilate well with your body. All they would do is essentially waste or slow down your bodily function. Something like meat, for example, since it's not natural to your body, it doesn't actually digest in your body. The only way it gets broken down whatsoever is parasites. So whereas acidic foods slow down the body, alkaline foods support and strengthen everyday bodily functions, putting your body in the best possible position to have a clean energy field and vibrant mental health. So just to recap, alkaline foods are good for your physical health because they improve your gut microbiome and support everyday bodily functions and easy circulation throughout the body. And they are also good for your mental and spiritual health because they are high in energy and they keep your body in a state that supports your spirit self, and your spirit self is where your happiness resides. So it's good for your mind, it's good for your body because you're in a constant state where you're always happy because you're healthy, right? Health is wealth. Health is also happiness. You're not depressed. And if you want to add more weight or be muscular for whatever reason, you can just eat more, because having weight isn't dependent on your diet. And the people who say that are pretty much just confused, right? Like, confusion is very dangerous for your health. If you listen to that, you're just going to end up being depressed because of some guy who enjoys eating hot dogs. Now, I want to quickly clarify the concept of priming your body for your spirit self so it's not confusing. So the equivalent is basically a guy who drinks alcohol and blacks out. So alcohol as a substance is very toxic. It's also very acidic. So what happens in that scenario is the body becomes so acidic that the spirit self cannot exist in that environment anymore and leaves, because that environment is too toxic for the spirit self. It's basically the same thing. The more you put acidity into your body, the more you make it uninhabitable for your spirit self. It doesn't matter if it's meat or processed foods. So since we've established that an alkaline diet is the healthiest diet, I want to clarify that eating acidic foods like meat or burgers or hot dogs are simply a personal preference. But it's important to not conflate preference with actually needing that in your diet, because those are two completely different things. You know, many people eat meat for tradition, or it's part of their religion, it's part of their life, and that's cool. But that doesn't mean that you actually need it in your diet. So it's important not to get those two confused.